Hey guys, it's time for lesson 5.9, and you all are going to be so happy because this is a super easy, super fast lesson. It's going to give you a nice mental break from the past few that you've had that aren't quite as easy and require a lot of work and time. So, we're going to talk about something called the discriminant. And this is just a number that tells us something about the x-intercepts. So the formula for the discriminant comes from the quadratic formula. It's that section that's under the square root, which is b, and actually let's put that in parentheses, squared minus 4ac. It tells us the number and type of x-intercepts, or roots, or zeros, or solutions. Remember, all four of those words mean the same thing. So that formula tells us. So there's kind of a few different options of numbers that we would get when we plug into that formula. The first one is a number greater than 0, so it's a positive number, and it's a perfect square. That tells us that there are two rational solutions. If it's a positive number that is a perfect square, there are two rational solutions. If it's a positive number, but it's not a perfect square, those are two irrational. So the numbers that are irrational are like pi is irrational. So numbers that aren't written as fractions or decimals that stop, like 0.5, because that can be written as a fraction. So like anytime you have a radical or a square root left in your answer, that's irrational. Now, if your discriminant is equal to 0, so the number under the square root is 0, you have one rational solution or one rational x-intercept. So this is like if your parabola is sitting on the x-axis. There's only one x-intercept there. Now then, let's say that your discriminant is less than 0. So it's a negative number. It doesn't matter if it's negative 4, like 4 is a perfect square. Negative, you don't think if it's a perfect square or not. It's just negative. That means there are two imaginary. So if you were to look at a graph of one of these where your discriminant is negative, it's going to look like there are no x-intercepts. For example, it'll look like this. Those x-intercepts are imaginary. We can't see them. They're not there. But we still write two imaginary. So we have a few examples here. So what is your A value? 2. Your B value? 12. And your C value? Negative 13. So my discriminant, we do our B squared. So 12 squared minus 4 times my A, which is 2, times C, which is negative 13. And I don't have my calculator handy, so let's go find it. I don't know. Oh, there it is. If you don't have this app, it's Calculate 84. All right, we had 12 squared minus 4 times my a was 2 times negative 13, and we get 248. So my discriminant is 248. That means that I have, so I'm going to put number of solutions. Okay. Is 248 a perfect square? It is not a perfect square. So we have a positive number that is not a perfect square. That was 2 irrational. So number 2, your A is negative 1, B is 16, and C is negative 64. So the discriminant is equal to B squared. So 16 squared minus 4 times my A, which is negative 1, times C, which is negative 64. Okay, so we have 16 squared minus 4 times negative 1 times negative 64. That is 0. So my discriminant is 0. That means that my number of solutions, 1 rational. Number 3, before you start labeling A, B, and C, your B is not 84 and your C is not 10. You've got to get it set equal to 0, which means I have to subtract 10x from both sides. Remember, your x always goes in the middle. So the discriminant is b squared. So negative 10 squared minus 4 times a, which is negative 4, times c, which is 84. Negative 10 squared minus 4 times negative 4 times 84. We get 1,444. If you're not sure if that's a perfect square, take the square root of it and see if you get a whole number. Yep, 38 squared is 1,444. That's a positive number, and it's a perfect square. So positive number, so greater than 0, perfect square. There are 2 rational solutions. And number 4. I want you to write down what you think the A, B, and C is. So your A is 3. your b, that is 0. There is no plain x in here. So your b is 0. Your c is 24. So the discriminant, b squared minus 4 times my a, which is 3 times 24. So 0 squared minus 4 times 3 times 24. Was that right? Yes. Oops. Well, rats. Oh, there we go. We get negative 288. So that is a negative number, which means that it has 2 imaginary solutions. And that's it. I hope you all have